first half, I thought he was superb. He did tie second half, as say a lot of players did, but absolutely biting into tackles, just winning the ball back, keeping it simple. Really like the look of him. And I think he and Smallwood, again, that's that defensive ball that we're looking at in front of the back four. Looks to have a lot of energy about him. Again, it's the first game. A lot of these players will get fitter and will get stronger in a few games' time, but looks like a really good signing. I think if I were to go through the new signings that I've mentioned, Brough, I think he looks a very, very good addition at left back and certainly a step up on Connor Wood. Somebody who I think will overlap, will try and join the attack as much as he can, but is also just a very good quality defender. And of course, the injury was a leg break. So if that's healed properly, this isn't an injury prone player. Hopefully, we're signing. He looks like a great signing and somebody who I'll say maybe I wasn't necessarily considering because we were looking forward to Ethan playing there. Remember, Smith was the first new signing, and Andy Crosby said we would love him, and I can absolutely see why. That guy's a warrior, wins a lot of headers, throws himself in the way of everything, and he looks an excellent centre half at League Two level. I'm sure that the fans who've seen that would agree. So I think defensively, those two are good signings. Kind of, we've mentioned there's a player there. I think a really solid defensive midfielder. Again, huge step up on Chris Merry. I'm only going after one game, but it looks it to me. Smallwood, I mentioned, he's the experienced head in the middle of the park that again we have been lacking. Just I say you can just tell that there's somebody that's played at a higher level. Just some players you can clearly see that. So those four were the new players that started. Really pleased with all four of them. Of the players that came on, as I say, I think Harris was ineffective. I think that he ran down a few blind alleys, got bullied off the ball a few times, and you noticed that physically we regressed when replacing Davison, who's a big unit, with Harris, who's much more slightly built in terms of holding the ball up. We did regress there, but I'm not judging a 19-year-old player on half an hour or whatever it was he got. Remains to be seen. Like you, I was interested to see that Whitaker didn't get a minute, which I thought was surprising. But maybe he's a player that the manager sees more as an attacking option when we're at home, rather than someone as part of a more defensive formation away from home. So, yeah, encouraged by the new signings, Matt.
I also wonder if it's something to do with the point you made earlier about getting those experienced heads on the field early in the season, building that platform and that backbone, and then kicking on from there. Because if you look at the side that Tranmere had out today, it was quite an old team, if we're being honest, weren't we? There wasn't too much in terms of youth in there. I know Noah Kenner starts the game, but if you look at the age of some of the other players, none of them, I don't think, match him for being under 23, 24. I forget how old Leo Connor is now. But, Smallwood's in his 30s, Turnbull's in his 30s, Connor's in his 30s. There's a lot of players who are at their peak or past their peak in that side, as opposed to having the younger, inexperienced heads starting the game. And they came off the bench. Solomon gets 19 minutes, which is the first time he has been used under Andy Crosby because, of course, the injury he picked up last season. Taylor Harris, as you say, comes on. We didn't see Blacker or Whitaker, who are the other two young players or inexperienced players in the squad. But I wonder if it's just a case of getting into the season and not wanting to quote Nigel Adkins, but getting that boulder rolling before he maybe unleashes things and just gets Tranmere into the campaign, which they haven't really managed to do in recent years.
I think there's nothing wrong with having a different philosophy home and away. Um, I do believe that, as I said, we have been a soft touch away from home for a few years now, and I think there's nothing wrong with having a defensive solidity, knowing that the opposition are going to have a lot more possession. I did think we were going to hold out, and I did think it would be another tick in your stats book for games that we win when the opponent has the ball far more than we do. Because I think it was something like 65-35 in terms of possession to the home side. Um, the difference was is that first half it was all lateral. They were going absolutely nowhere. Second half there was more pace. They went at us a lot more directly, and that was in the end. I think, as I say, I think that if the game had gone on another 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it's the sort of game that we might have ended up losing. But I don't think we deserved to lose the game. I look at it as a whole. We were the better side in the first half. They were the better side in the second half, and overall, I think a 1-1 draw is fair enough.